Good morning and happy Saturday. I am the 47-year-old corporate girly that would like to retire in 8 years but has no retirement savings. I'm $95,000 in debt. $85,000 of that is student loan debt and $10,000 is in credit card debt that I'd like to pay off by the end of this year, but I don't know how to do that because I don't make enough money. That's me. That's your girl. You're to the right page. I wanted to do a little get to know me and answer some of my most frequently asked questions. So let's get into all of it. And this video is sponsored by my morning coffee. Oh my gosh, I need this. Let's do a little get to know me first, and then we'll answer some of the questions towards the end of the video. I'm like, where do I even begin? Do I start at my birth? You guys don't want to know all the way back there. I am 42 years old. I live in the Tampa Bay area. I have a cute little French bulldog. She's back here. Both of my girls are grown. My youngest is turning 20, on December 5th. And I'm getting ready to decorate my apartment because she is coming to visit. My oldest daughter is 22 and she will be 23 this March. She has my grandson who is 4 months old. He's so cute. I can't wait. I think I'm hanging out with them today. I just hung out with him yesterday. I'm so excited. I love him. And she is engaged to my son-in-law. They live in St. Pete, so they're not very far from me, and I love that. I love that I moved here down here during like the right phase of life for her, where I could help her and I get to see my grandson. It's my first grandchild. I love it. I go by Gigi. I wanted to separate myself because everyone else, all the other grandmas were going by grandma, and I was like, we got to correct this. I got to be something different. And I don't feel like there's any new kind of names. I try to think of something off the top of my head that I could be creative and be known by. And it was like no one had used it. I couldn't think of anything. I'm not that creative. So I'm going by Gigi, which I love. And I am obsessed with my grandson. I am one of two sisters. I have an older sister and I have a younger sister. We are a military family. My dad is retired Air Force. He was career Air Force for, I think he did early retirement when I was in high school. I want to say that was the first time that they had really started to offer early retirement. I'm not quite sure why they offer early retirement because that just seems crazy. That's our military. But I don't know. Maybe they were just like, we're overstaffed. We can let some of these people go. Let's do early retirement. I don't know if they still do early retirement. I don't know anything about that. But my dad did like 15 years. We lived in several different places. I was born in Utah. We moved to Germany. We moved to Turkey. We then moved to South Carolina, and then when I was graduated from high school, like me and my sisters graduated, my parents moved to North Carolina, where they reside now. So I've lived a good deal of places. I went to first grade and kindergarten in Turkey. I failed first grade, possibly. I didn't do very well on my own. Like, I know I didn't try my hardest when I was in first grade. Like, I remember wanting to always call out sick. And I think it just had to do with a lot of changes. Like, during my first grade year, that's sometime towards the end of the year, we moved to South Carolina from Turkey. So I think the change of that, my dad's dad, my grandpa, had died. That was the first time I had experienced like a death in the family. And I was in first grade. I was just a little one. So I think trying to finish off first grade was just not for me. I took a lot of sick days. My parents let me take the sick days. I remember doing schoolwork at home because I was always calling out sick. And I remember my parents never being like, no, you have to go to school today or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe they were just trying to figure out how to navigate this whole new situation as well. They're doing life for the first time too, so I don't really fault them. But I remember not doing well. And so I had to repeat the first grade, which put me behind. But I was pretty much an A-B student going through school. Then I got pregnant at 19 years old, and I got married just a week after our daughter was born. We ended up getting married. I married the father of my daughter, and we ended up having our second child together as well. So they had the same dad. Let's see. When I was married, I married a military man. He was in the Army. He's now since retired. In the last few years, he retired maybe 4 years ago, something like that. We lived in a multitude of different places as well when we were married. Fayetteville, of course. We like to call it Vietnam. I don't know if anybody calls it that. But, oh my gosh. Okay, so we lived in these townhouses. I want to say they were called the Cambridge Arm Apartments. I don't know why that's coming to my mind. I swear maybe that's what they were called. But if you look those apartments up, I looked them up after I had it was like maybe 8 years after I had moved out of there and everything. And I realized, oh my gosh, these apartments are listed as like the military cannot go there because I guess there's just too much like drug and gang crime activity. And so like for the military, they will sometimes like tell you not to go places. Obviously, go there at your own risk. If you get caught, you probably are going to get in trouble even if you weren't doing anything. We lived there. It was these townhouses. On one side of us, we had a cop, and he had like a cute young family. It was like 1 or 2 children. His children were just like toddlers, and our baby, we had our first child, and ours was a newborn baby. So our kids never played because we had a newborn baby. But he had like 1 or 2 daughters. It was him and his wife. I don't think she worked. I want to say she stayed at home with the children. And on the other side of us was a couple that made pornographic videos at home. You know how I know that? One day we're laying in our bed, like watching TV, chilling out for the night. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the neighbor girl is screaming. And I'm like telling my husband, like, please go over there. I think she might be getting killed or something. Like, I was scared. He didn't go over there that night because it was already dark, and that just seemed like the wrong time to kind of insert yourself. Like, I know, dangerous, and like, I didn't want my husband to die too. Like, I needed him to be around for our child at the time, and our other children that we were going to have. And so, yeah, he went over there the next day when they were all hanging out and asked him about that just to make sure everything was cool. And that's when he told them that they make pornography videos in their home. And I was like, great. So a cop on one side and a porn industry guy on the other side. And we're just a newlywed couple with the little baby living in Vietnam. Then he got stationed in South Korea, so I moved to New Jersey to live with his mom for a little bit because I thought, like, why not? It just seems fair. So I was going to spend 6 months there and then 6 months with my parents, but I only lasted maybe 2 or 3 months at his mom's, and then I went to go live in South Korea with him and our daughter. And we lived in a little dojo. That was fun. Then after that, we moved to Washington State. That's where my ex-husband, who was my husband at the time, cheated on me while I was pregnant with our second child. So after that, our marriage was kind of rocky, and honestly, it didn't last that much longer. It maybe lasted a couple more years because it lasted about 3 or 4 more years because our youngest was about 4 when we separated. Let's see. After we lived in Fort Lewis for a few years, a couple of years, 2 years or something like that. I liked it up there. It was different. It was fun. I never lived in the Northwest. Then we moved to Kentucky when he got orders to go to Fort Campbell. We lived there. I became a realtor while I was there. I also became a realtor right before we ended up separating. I honestly thought our marriage was better once we moved to Kentucky. Like, I thought we were on the right track, and I thought we were going to get over the whole cheating and be able to move on. Little did I know, no. Like, once you cheat, the nail is in the coffin. Like, I couldn't get over it. I always was suspicious after he cheated on me. I always was just like, I never really was and this is way before even Facebook was around. I think Facebook became a thing like towards this time, but I don't think it was too much, like, the social media definitely wasn't what it is now, you know? So I wasn't the kind of person that would like check phones and stuff like that. I never did that. But, like, I was just always suspicious. And I think that kind of drove a wedge between us. And I don't think that he actually really liked me ever. And I think we just got married out of convenience. And because we ended up having our first daughter out of wedlock. And I think that was something that, you know, we both wanted to step up and do the right thing. And I thought, like, there were some really good times in our marriage, but when I look back, I'm like, there were so many signs, like red flags that I missed. But I was 19 years old when I got married, you know, 19 years old when I had my first daughter. So I was very young, naive, and didn't know any better. Fast forward, we get divorced. I end up going into property management now that I cannot do real estate because I needed like stable income. So I did that. I bounced around here and there, and basically, I mean, that's kind of my life in a nutshell. Like, once I bounced around, my daughters ended up going to live with their dad after a few years after we had gotten divorced. The girls went to go live with their dad. And it just left me by myself. I ended up getting Scout sometime after that, probably 2 or 3, I want to say around 2 years after the girls went to go live with their dad full time. And I became like the weekend mom. I got Scout, and I got Scout when she was this tiny. If I can find a picture, I'll insert it somewhere in this video. I lived in Greensboro, then I lived in Raleigh. Then, where else? Pretty much lived in Raleigh. I lived in Raleigh like 3 separate times because I lived in Raleigh, ended up quitting, going back to school in my very late 20s to early 30s, then moved back to Raleigh, then got a better job in Greensboro, and then got a better job back in Raleigh. So I lived in Raleigh 3 separate times. I lived there for, on and off, for maybe 8 years, somewhere around there. And then last year, 2023, I got laid off and I decided it was time to move to Florida. I always wanted to be a beach girl. I don't know if I'll live here the rest of my life. I do love it here, but with the hurricanes and everything, I don't know. I live in the Tampa Bay area, so I think if I do end up living here the rest of my life, I'll probably like move to the East Coast where I don't feel like it's as bad. I don't know. I always hop on Zillow and look at houses, and I never know. Like, I'm like dreaming about different houses I would love to buy, but I never know, you know? It's not something that I can do right now. I would love to buy a house, and one day I hope to be financially stable enough in order to do that. Okay, now we're going to break out the questions that people ask me. I think that was a pretty long get to know me video. Okay, here are some questions right here. I didn't snip like everyone's username, so I'm not gonna worry about that. But here are some questions. This one wrote 3 questions. I think I've answered some of them already, but we'll see. Number 1, how do you stay positive when paying large amounts of debt? So I am, like I said, $95,000 in debt. I have $85,000 worth of student loans and $10,000 worth of credit card. How do I stay positive when I'm in this situation and trying to pay off such a large amount? I honestly don't know. I have always been a glass half full, you know, kind of cheery, positive kind of girl. If you can't tell, I've been through a lot in my life, being a military kid to being a military wife to going through a terrible divorce with a narcissist to having to let my kids go to live with their dad because that's what the court had decided and I didn't have a choice. And so I've been through a lot, and I could be really down about a lot of things that I've been through. And yeah, maybe it's not as bad as other people, but I don't like to compare my life or my traumas to other people's lives or traumas. I feel like I don't want to be that kind of negative person and living through life. I've gone through periods where I'm depressed, I'm negative, and when I am in those moods, like, I'm the worst person to be around. That, and then I go through those periods and it's like I don't see the positive about anything when I'm in those like dark periods, and I just don't like to live that way, honestly. It's a mindset. Number 2, once out of debt, what type of investments are you looking to make? I am still thinking about that. Once I get a little bit more, once I pay off my credit cards, once I pay off my credit cards, I honestly don't really know, but I know that I want to open my 401k at my job because they do a contribution match up to 6%. So I'm looking to do that and then open up a Roth IRA and get some like buy ETFs or stuff like that. So I think those are my next steps. I already have a high yield savings account and I do want to build that up a little bit more. So that's something I'm working on, as well as trying to pay off my debt right now. Once I get that a little bit more up to where I want it to be, it may not be perfect, but once I get a little bit more up to where I want it to be, I do plan on switching over to my 401k and my Roth IRA. I want to open both of those up, and sky's the limit after that. I don't really know, but we're going to start with those because those are really important to have in life. Okay, the third question is basically, do I plan to live in Florida the rest of my life, which I've already answered. I don't really know the answer to that question. I feel really torn about this also because my grandson, my first grandchild, lives here. So it's like, if I move, I'm going to be far away from him, and I don't want that. I want to live close. I didn't live close to my grandparents because we were a military family. And we went and visited pretty often once we moved back to the States and lived in South Carolina. But and my kids they didn't live close to their grandparents either, except for a couple of years when I went back to school, we lived with my parents. But for the most part, they didn't live close to their grandparents, my parents, either. So I want to really take an opportunity to be like really involved grandma and help out as much as possible, especially still in the newborn phase right now. But I don't know, I can't see myself not living close to my grandson. So if they end up moving, I will end up moving. Right now, my job is here in Tampa and I have to be in office 5 days a week. So I'm kind of stuck to where I'm at right now. If they happen to move and I can still keep my job, like it's not too far to travel every day to come into the office, then I think we'll be okay. But I don't know right now. It's really dependent on what my daughter does, and I hate to be like that, but I just can't live far from my grandson. At least not right now. Maybe one day I could live a couple hours away, but I couldn't see myself living more than about 2 hours away. I am there every single weekend. So I don't want to live more than that, because traveling 2 hours, basically 4 hours every weekend sounds like a lot. Okay, next question. Isn't it impossible to retire without retirement while having massive debt? So yes, I know that my intro to my video is I want to retire in 8 years, but I have no retirement savings, which is very true. I don't have a 401k. I don't have a Roth IRA. Yes, maybe it's impossible to you, but to me, I don't believe so. I have worked really hard to get where I'm at right now in life, and I don't continue to slow down. Like, it's not something I'm got in my wheelhouse right now. I'm grinding and figuring it out, and I truly believe that I will get where I want to be. It may not take the same path that I'm thinking, like there's so many twists and turns in life, so I'm not like held to one certain thing. If the ending changes, that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that, So I don't think it's impossible, because I grew up with parents with a very limited mindset, and I don't want to be that kind of person with a limited mindset. I live in delusion, and I think anything could be possible. Okay, next question. This one is cute. So next question. This person is asking me about the 2 businesses that I said that I had and I had to sell. So I ended up opening up 2 LLCs when I lived in North Carolina. One of them I did absolutely nothing with. I honestly thought that I was going to start posting about my dog and stuff like that on social media, and I thought it would instantly blow up because I have a cute French bulldog. And yes, maybe that's stupid of me to think. So I opened up an LLC for any like business kind of expenses and stuff like that, but I ended up not wanting to make my channel about my dog because that just seemed daunting. Like, she's not trained or anything like that, so it was kind of a delusional day thought, and I didn't follow through with all of that. But I ended up opening an LLC, and I did nothing with it. The other LLC that I opened, I ended up opening a few vending machines. I'll try to insert some pictures if I still have them. But I opened up a few vending machines. I put one in the Concord Mills Mall. Still might be there. I just don't own it anymore. And then I got another one, and I put it in the mall that's in Wilmington, North Carolina. What is that mall called? I don't know. And I don't know if that vending machine is still there or where it's at, because I don't own any of these vending machines anymore. I ended up selling them before I moved to Florida. I owned them for less than a year. It was something that I had seen on social media, and I had thought it would be a great business opportunity. And honestly, it kind of was. But at the same time, it wasn't making as much money as I thought. And maybe it's because I didn't even own it for a year. But because I ended up wanting to move to Florida, I didn't want to have to try to fly back to North Carolina. Like, I was there a couple of times a month, restocking, cleaning, making sure everything was working well. And I lived in Raleigh, so I would go this way an hour and a half, 2 hours to Charlotte every other weekend, and on the other weekends I would go this way to two and a half hours to Wilmington and check on that vending machine, restock, clean, all that kind of stuff. So I was using a lot of time, and I just can't see myself flying from Tampa area to Wilmington a couple times a month, and then the other weekends flying to Raleigh a couple times a month. or flying to Charlotte a couple times a month, getting an Airbnb or hotel, getting a rental car. Like, it just seemed way too expensive. And I was like, I'm just going to sell this, be done with everything, and move to Florida clean slate. So I sold the businesses. And because I sold the businesses, I ended up just closing down the LLC. I didn't need it anymore because I didn't own the businesses. And they also wanted to know about the sale of my townhouse. So I inherited about $10,000 from my uncle that passed. And I want to say that I got that money in 2016, 2017. And I pretty much turned right around and started looking for houses. And I lived in Greensboro at the time. I honestly thought I was planting roots. I thought I was going to stay there for a while. I kind of loved my job and didn't see myself moving from the area. And I thought even if I did, like, it would be a great investment to have some property. And I loved my little cute townhouse for about 6 months. Then I realized I don't know if I can live in an HOA like this. Like, I was getting letters all the time. Like, when I first moved in, I've been single this entire time since I got divorced. So imagine me just doing it on my own with my dog. First time I bought my own house, and I ended up like putting my dog outside on like one of those runner leashes where I would like paint my house while I was moving in. And I got so many violations, people telling me like or the HOA sending me letters like, we're gonna call you to the Humane Society, or we're gonna come collect your dog or something like that because I'm not taking care of my dog. I'm like, my dog is outside because I'm painting. I can't have my dog inside around the fumes. Just like really crazy things like that. So I just got so fed up with the HOA. I just said, you know what? This isn't for me. I think I want to move. I ended up getting another job and hating it. Absolutely was coming home crying every day. I was like, okay, I got to do something because my mental health is severely like going down the tubes right now. So I ended up moving out of that, moving to Raleigh, getting a new job that I liked, and getting an apartment, renting out the townhouse. Never felt better. 2020 rolls around. Over the years since 2017 to 2020, I had replaced the upstairs bathroom, basically. Had to get a new toilet, had to get all new subflooring, had to get new flooring. A bunch of stuff had to be done because just it was getting older. It was a 1990s townhouse. I had renters in there that took pretty good care, but just there was things that needed to be replaced. Carpet needed to be replaced, stuff like that. So I just got to the point where I was like, you know what, this is becoming a money pit and I don't have the funds to keep sinking into this. If I had the funds to like fully remodel it and kind of fix some of the things that just were happening and stuff like that, then I would have kept it, but it just wasn't for me. So I ended up just selling the townhouse in 2020, and that money I used to open the vending machine business. This person says 2024 people are delusional nowadays. I agree, but like, why shouldn't we be? What's wrong with being delusional? Like, it's not hurting you for me to have delusional thoughts about being able to retire in 8 years and have no retirement savings. Like, it's not hurting you for me to be delusional. It's not hurting me for me to be delusional either. I'm just setting really lofty goals. You don't set lofty goals for yourself in life? If you don't, like, I hate it for you. Truly. This person says, how will you know when and if your student loans will be forgiven? So right now I have applied for student loan forgiveness through the, I can't remember what thing it is, but basically I feel like I got defrauded by going to University of Phoenix. So I have applied for student loan forgiveness, and because of the timing I applied, it ended up, this whole fiasco is caught up in the Supreme Courts. And now that Donald Trump is elected, not to be anything political because I didn't even vote, I don't like politics, I hate every politician, and I think everybody is sold out to corporate America. You cannot convince me otherwise. Now that Donald Trump is in office, I don't think that student loan forgiveness is on the table at all. I'm gonna have to figure out something else. So I don't really know, but it's been 2 years since I applied. I applied in 2022, and we're about to hit 3 years next August. And this person says, also, what kind of impact will bankruptcy have on my personal finances? I do plan on looking into bankruptcy for my student loan forgiveness, or instead of student loan forgiveness, I plan on looking into student loan bankruptcy. Honestly, I don't really know the impact, and that's something I'm going to discuss with the attorney and maybe a financial advisor at that time. I need the money set aside. Like, I need to have about $2,500 set aside for the entire bankruptcy process, and I just don't have that because I'm currently paying off my student loan, or currently paying off my credit cards right now and trying to save up for my emergency fund and everything. So I don't have the money for it right now. My student loan payments are on pause because I've applied for a student loan forgiveness. I don't know what impact all of that will have on my personal finances. That is one reason I want to have enough money saved up for anything that might happen if I have to get a co-signer to get into a new apartment if I want to move or something like that. I really don't know what the impact is. I don't mind paying back my student loans, but if I can get them forgiven or get them thrown out in bankruptcy, like, I'd be much happier, like anybody else would be. And I don't judge people for what their choices are in life. I don't really know the impact, though. That is a good question, and that's something I plan on sharing more of once I get into the bankruptcy process. This person says that student loans are not bankruptable. I think, yes. And I will beg to differ. Please do a Google search. This is what I tell everyone. You really need to go and research because student loans are able to be in bankruptcy. I don't know about private student loans, but I don't have private student loans. So it is a much harder process, and that's why even if I go through the whole process of bankruptcy, I still don't know if I'll actually get my student loans forgiven through the bankruptcy process, just because it is much harder. So I could go through the whole process and the courts tell me no, which is fine, whatever, but that's not going to stop me from trying. So once I gather up the funds, I will be able to look into that a little bit more. And I will be sharing with you guys once I get there. Okay, this person asked me why you want to retire at 50 and how much a month are you paying on your school, on my college debt. I'm paying nothing on my college debt right now. Why I went to retire at 50? Because why not? I don't want to sit at my desk job until I'm 65. Absolutely not. I don't like going to a desk job. I think it stifles the person I am, the person I was. Like, I went into corporate America a whole different person than I am now. I had so much, creativity, and my personality was so vivacious and outgoing, and I feel like I have become a shell of the person of who I used to be because of corporate America, because it strips you of your identity, because it breaks you down to be a whole new person. So I just don't think it's for me. I do it because I have to pay my bills. I don't mind my job. I actually kind of like it. I like the people I work with and I work for, so it makes it enjoyable to go to every day, Monday through Friday. But if I could find a way out of it, I'm finding a way out of it. Wouldn't you? If you could retire at 50, wouldn't you want to? And I think this is the last question. Do I have time to date? Honestly, between work, being a grandma, being a dog mom, creating content on the internet or for the internet, no, I don't have time to date. Would I like to date? Absolutely. I'm not ever gonna be on a dating app. I don't feel like rare gems like myself are on dating apps. You know, I value my time. I value my peace. I value my serenity. I have worked through a lot of traumas I've been through in my life, childhood traumas and just traumas in general. And I'm not willing to subject myself to potentially more traumas. So it's definitely going to have to be the right person. But I'm open to dating, even though I don't have really much time right now to date. But I'm still open to it, and I'm open to finding time for the right person. But it's not something I'm really seeking out. Do I get excited when I go to the grocery store and hope that maybe someone will ask me for my number and I go on a date? Yes, of course, like, I'm still a healthy young individual and I want to be able to date and find the love of my life. But if that never happens, I'm also okay dying alone. And I mean, I have to be. What other choice do I have, you know? I have a great support system. I have grandbaby number 1 already. I'm sure I will have more grandchildren that will take up more of my time in the future. So I don't really have time for dating right now. It's not something I'm really looking into either, though. Okay, I think that was a pretty long video. I love y'all. Thank you if you watched to the end. I will see you soon. Love you. Bye.